Hello everyone, welcome back to Barney Talks Fighting. I am joined today by Gary Rooney. I'm very, very excited for this one. How's things, Gary?
Oh, good, Barney. Yeah, thanks very much for having me on, mate.
Cool. Thank you for coming on, my friend. We're a month away from Clan Wars 50. How's camp going so far?
It's gone absolutely brilliant, bro. Yeah, I've absolutely no complaints. I'm training as hard as ever and looking forward to the fight, man. Yeah.
And see, in terms of your camp, have you started tailoring off the hard sparring, or what way does that look like 1 month out?
No, I guess not so much yet, bro. It would kind of be like 2 weeks out where I'd really drop the intensity of well, maybe not intensity, but the risk, I guess, suppose, with sparring, like the intensity would stay the same, but the risk would lower down kind of around 2 weeks out, yeah.
So you'll still be doing the sprintings and trying to beat the demons in your head
Exactly.
2 weeks out as well.
Yeah.
Cool.
I don't think I'll ever beat them, bro. I think they're always there.
They're never going away.
No.
Obviously, your last fight was at Clan Wars Fight Night in May. You stole the show. You headlined it, but you definitely stole the show, finishing with a flying knee. How do you plan to top that in Clan Wars 50?
I don't really know, bro. To be honest, like I didn't plan on topping my pro debut either, which was a very exciting fight. I just go in there and I just do me, bro. I don't think about the last fight and I don't think about the fight next after this. I just go in there and I'm present at the moment, and then whatever happens, bro. If you think about that sort of stuff, I don't think it ever actually happens. I think it's fighting is so chaotic. I think it's very hard to actually pull things off the way they go out in your head. Yeah.
Yeah, it can go any way, can't it? I think as you mentioned there, you have to stay single focused and you have to be in the moment. Is there any wee things that you do, or wee sort of things that you've learned along the way that help you stay grounded and stay focused in them moments? Because of course, as you say, it's chaos. You're walking out, your family and friends, crowd singing. It must be hard to keep your focus on the opponent and on the fight at all times.
Yeah, I guess it kind of is, bro. Like, so, I guess, like, mindset coaches and stuff. Now, I don't have a mindset coach, but being around the game a long time, you get these little mental switches, and, like, I wouldn't be, like, what's the word, I guess, like, a superstitious person, but I definitely have things that I like to do leading up to the fight, and, like, not leading, but, like, on fight day that I would do and things like that, so I have those little mental switches, and that really helps me get in the mode for fighting, because it's such a mad thing to do. You need those little switches, and then I guess I turn into squeaky then, you know what I mean? Like that. Like, I'm Gary Rooney now, but I'm fighting I'm squeaky, yeah.
Yeah, I understand. You've obviously had the perfect start so far in your pro career. Two fights, two finishes. You have a good opponent in Ayub Dahesh up next. Do you think this will be your toughest fight yet?
No. If I'm being honest, no. I've had some very tough fights in the past, and I expect me to go out there and put it on the score, yeah.
Do you think it'll be your toughest pro fight? Yeah.
Sorry, my toughest pro fight? No, to be honest, I think my very first pro debut, I think Moraru George was like a very, very tough fight, and I think his record doesn't speak for his skill level, He's a very tough fighter. He had a great amateur career as well, and to take a fight like that as your pro debut, I could have been 0-1. He had me in a very tight choke in the first round and stuff like that. So I think Moraru George was probably my toughest fight so far. Probably one of my toughest fights even as an amateur. Probably him and Tommy Clark. And then obviously the guys who bet me, you know what I mean? They're obviously tough guys as well.
Something I did notice about your amateur career was that you done really, really well competing around the region. It was like you only really get defeated when you were competing in these European tournaments and stuff.
In Ireland or England. The only losses I have was in the IMAF cage to basically Dagestan and Kazakhstan. They fought under Bahrain, but they're Daggies.
Do you feel that having them defeats against such high level opponents, how much did you learn and how much did you take away from them fights?
Yeah, I took an absolute bookload of information from them fights, bro. And sometimes the fights that didn't even go to the second round, Gani Aldasarik defeated me in the first round with an armbar. And even from that fight, I took loads away from it. And sometimes it's not even a technical thing you take away, it's a mental thing. Like, sometimes you think these guys are like miles ahead of you and you realise it's just millimetres they are, And again, if he's 2 millimetres ahead of you, he's going to win the race. But you realise it's a lot closer than you think. Yeah.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Obviously, now that you're pro, your next opponent, Ayoub, do you watch more tape on your opponents now? Or because I've been speaking to a lot of amateurs fighters recently, and they tend to focus on themselves. They just train day after day, and they don't really have camps as such as you would see in the pro scene. Has that kind of changed at all? Do you watch more tape on your opponents now, or do you still focus on you?
No, I would still be, I guess, like an amateur in that sense of like I don't watch too much tape. He's had a few fights, so I've watched them. I definitely have watched them, but I haven't made a camp tailored around shot selection that will work specifically against him, because I think like it's only really at the highest level of professional MMA that you would do that, if that makes sense, like in the UFC and PFL and Bellator and things like that, when you're fighting guys with 10 plus fights or thereabouts and you have a lot of tape on them, you know. Like, so don't get me wrong, I've definitely watched this guy and I know what shots he likes to throw and I know what he does when he's tired and stuff like that, but I haven't tailored my training around him. I've tailored my training around myself and my skill set, yeah.
I've seen you were over at the UFC in Manchester helping out Sean O'Bannon. I was over for it. I was watching it. How was that experience for you being backstage at UFC?
It was absolutely incredible, Barney, mate. It was unbelievable. It was, bro. I always compared it to like there's a gaff party going on, you know, like you know what's going on inside, and when you're training MMA, you're almost at the steps. But being able to be in the backstage, I was looking in the window, you know what I mean, like that. So it's only a matter of time before I'm in the party, yeah.
I love the fact you have just compared it.
Yeah.
Unreal.
It was unbelievable, bro. When just like before they even had me first amateur fight, I was in the back rooms of the cage, the very first cage legacy and things like that. And I think it's important to be there so you can actually visualize it, and then when you are there yourself, the pressure is kind of lessened a little bit, you know, like you've been around the atmosphere, so it's not as daunting as it would be if it was my first time ever at a UFC event and then I'm fighting in 15 minutes, if that makes sense.
That there is a very, very fair point, because I'm sure there is a lot of people where they get signed to the UFC and they maybe haven't had teammates or people that they've went and done camps with and stuff over at the UFC before.
Exactly, yeah.
That there probably does give you a good advantage, the fact that you've been there, you've been backstage, you know what they expect. Did it give you the itch and did it give you an itch and an extra drive they want to achieve it?
It gave me an itch like ringworm, bro. Yeah, that's the type of itch it gave me, yeah. But I think it's important for like any young up and coming fighter who hasn't had an MMA fight, like put yourself forward, ask can you be in the corner, ask could you hold pads for them, sneak into the back room and feel the atmosphere change from it's all laughing and joking 2 hours out, and then suddenly maybe when your teammates up in an hour, the smiles start to fade and it starts to turn serious. And you know, it's a shift you feel in the changing room, and if you can feel that before it's actually your turn, I really think it helps. Yeah, it's something I'd recommend everybody to do before they have their first fight, is to be in the warm-up area for one of their teammates.
That is a great bit of advice that you don't actually usually hear. I want to kind of backtrack a bit and go back to your early days of MMA. It probably feels like you're only 25. It probably feels like you've been doing it a lifetime because you started so young. You're a black belt at the age of 25. That is incredibly impressive. At what age did you start?
I started at around 14, man. So I finished first year, and in the summer going into second year, I joined SBG.
And was it jiu-jitsu then, or was it MMA, or?
So it was the way it worked was, so I started off in the teens program under Coach Owen Roddy. He was the coach in SBG HQ. He has his own gym, and he had his own gym then as well, SBG Charlestown. But he was the kids coach in SBG HQ. So it was jiu-jitsu and MMA. But my very first class was jiu-jitsu class. So I went in wanting to learn MMA, but the first session was jiu-jitsu, and then it just blew me mind, mate. Me and my brother Darren joined together. He was forced to join me, man. Dad forced him to join because I was a bit shy to go by myself. And, you know, and ever since then, like, he's my younger brother, but he's a bit bigger than me. Well, he's a lot bigger than me now, but he was a little bit bigger than me when we joined. And it was just like magic, man. Just the technique that Owen showed. It blew me mind. The harder Darren tried to struggle against it, the easier it worked. So I couldn't believe it.
It is an unbelievable sport. I got my blue belt there just at the start of summer, and I've probably been doing it about 2.5 years, and it still amazes me.
Yeah.
You know, like you're going into the gym and there's guys half my weight and they're manipulating your body and putting it in ways that your body should not go. It's incredibly impressive stuff that you do see in jiu-jitsu gyms. I've seen you sort of talking about before about the life lessons that you've got from the mat. What kind of life lessons can you share that you've learned through the sport?
I guess that it's a marathon, bro. You know, like good things take time, and you kind of have to just stick with things. You know, like you go through these rough patches and plateaus, and there's dips, and no one ever. Everyone talks about when like you're feeling bad, but no one ever talks about when it's just like flatlining, if that makes sense. You know, like it's up and down, but then it's also like where you just train and you're stagnant, I guess would be the word. And it's just like, I guess progress is more like steps than it is a hill and like an up and down mountain range. You know, sometimes you have a plateau and then you finally make those breakthroughs and things like that. And just, I don't know, bro, I guess just being a good person all around, you know, you are who you hang around with, you know, show me your friends and I'll show you your future, as me nanny used to say. And, you know, things like that, and just sticking around good people and being around these type of people to motivate you and be better. Yeah.
Class. I love that. I love that a lot. Obviously, you touched on there that it's not always sunshine and rainbows. What kind of obstacles have you had to face in your MMA journey so far? And was there a time where you ever felt like giving up? Did it ever get to that stage with you?
Yeah, I guess there is. Nothing springs to mind like majorly, I guess, but I guess just kind of like just sticking with it, bro, to be honest. Like, sorry, what was the question? Like, I'm just kind of like, I'm not too sure. Like,
is there any sort of obstacles that you've had to overcome in your MMA journey? Any tough injuries, any tough times where you maybe did struggle coming off the back of a defeat, or?
No, like nothing has ever kind of knocked me off track to where I've been like, oh, I don't want to do this, bro, to be perfectly honest. I guess when I found out my girlfriend Sophie was pregnant with our baby, like it kind of was like, oh shit, like do I pack this in and do I get a job and do I provide for the family? And then Sophie sat me down, she slapped me in the face with reality, and she just said, like, is that what you want our kids to grow up and realise and look for? Is like when times get tough, you give up on your dreams, or do you knuckle down and go at it twice as hard, you know? And that really helped me and stuff like that. Yeah, so I guess just like having these obstacles outside of the training, and like it's not right for me to give up my dream for anybody else, you know. No matter what obstacles are in my way, I need to always look out for me first, if that makes sense. And then if I look after me, everyone else will benefit.
I'm due to have my first kid in January as well. My fiance is currently pregnant. How do you feel fatherhood? Bro. Thank you very much, mate. How do you think fatherhood changed you? Did it give you, you know, you hear fighters talking all the time that they turn into a different beast whenever their partner gives birth. Do you feel that happened to you? Did it give you extra motivation?
Yeah, it definitely did, bro. It's it's not just for you anymore, bro. Like even just outside of fighting in general, like it's magical, bro. It really is. It's a magical feeling, and you'll experience it soon. You know what I mean, bro? It's hard to explain. In all honesty, like you'll understand what I'm talking about in January. It's actually hard to put into words unless you feel it. You know.
Yes, mate. Yes, I appreciate that. I want you to envision 3 years from now. You're a good bit through your journey, but I'm sure there's still a lot left you want to achieve. 3 years from now, how far do you see yourself in this sport?
In 3 years, I'm going to be in the top 15 or the top 10 flyweights in the UFC, if not champion.
I love that. I love that. And it's definitely possible. You're going on the right trajectory to do that. So I could definitely see that happening. Just to finish up, I've been asking all fighters I've been interviewing this, and I've got some interesting answers. Which UFC fighters inspired you now and when you're going through the amateur ranks? Because it may have changed.
Sorry, what was the last part, Barney?
So which UFC fighters has inspired you either now or going through the amateur ranks whenever you were up and coming? Because it might have changed. You know, you might have someone that inspires you now that maybe wouldn't have 5-10 years ago.
If I'm being perfectly honest, bro, like the UFC fighters didn't inspire me. It was fighters around me who inspired me. It was the likes of Owen Roddy, who unfortunately never got a chance in the UFC. And I guess then like Richie Smullen again would be my second biggest, and then Paddy Holohan and all like those guys, you know, the guys around me who really inspired me. Obviously, like you're gonna look at the UFC champions and draw inspiration from people who you see similarities between you and your style. But I guess the main three would be Owen Roddy, Richie Smullen, and Paddy Holohan, bro. I guess those three would be my biggest inspirations, yeah.
I love that you have kept it close to home, because it is easy. They look, you know, far afield for inspiration, but Irish MMA has been good for so many years now, and especially now there's a great crop of talent coming up.
Yeah, bro. Like what got me into it was Paddy. To be honest, like Paddy done a course with me auntie. Like I didn't even know who Conor McGregor was when I first started. You know, it was only when I joined the gym and people were talking about him. I was like, oh fuck, I better go home and YouTube this fella. You know, I think he was already at the fight in Max Holloway and stuff. Like he'd already kind of made a big time, but I wasn't really up to date on things like that, bro. I was just a kid. You know what I mean? I didn't really stick to the trends. And then when I joined, then Roddy was the main man. You seen Roddy coaching. I kind of looked at him when he was training and he's bashing guys. And then obviously Richie Smullen took me under his wing pretty early on, so he was another inspiration straight away then. And then I'm actually getting a physical hiding off Richie every day. So like you're like, right, that's the level I need to be at, you know.
That's interesting. One last thing, Clan Wars 50. What is your prediction for your fight? How do you see it playing out against Ayub Dahesh?
I see me coming forward from the first bell and putting it on him, bro. And I don't know, like, I'm not going to predict the finish, but I'm going to predict me coming forward and trying to finish the guy, bro. Whether I do or not, Ayub's a very, very tough fighter. I've looked at a lot of his fights and he's game ball, you know. He's there to fight. He's not there to... he's not there for a contest or a competition, if that makes sense. Like, he's there to fight like it's outside the chipper, and so am I. So it's gonna be a nice fight, yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. That's all I've got for you, Gary. Thank you very much for coming on. It's much appreciated. I can't wait to see you in there on the 2nd of November. I'm really looking forward to it.
Thank you very much, bro. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Cheers.
Thanks for having me on.
Cheers,
man.
buddy.
Still
Thank
on
you.
the wall, yeah.